What's up, traders? Hey guys. So doing an update on Bitcoin. Um, so a lot of motion in the market. We have just absolutely got crushed the last 24 hours, last 48 hours. But guys, this is not really anything new in these markets. We have these big moves where the media goes crazy, gets a lot of headlines, and then we have a 50% to 80% correction. So the biggest thing, I mean, we've talked about big picture, is taking profit in front of 20,000. We were stressing that all very first part of December constantly. We want to make sure we sell in front of 20,000, take some profits. You don't have to get out of your core position, but you just take some in front of those big numbers. We had a big move from 5,000. Once we got through 10,000, we said that 20,000 was the next area where the market would probably want to achieve, and then you just want to take profit. I mean, we were really extended, and now we've pulled back towards the bands. We're back down at pi on the 4 hour on the intermediate term chart, so we've had a full pi cycle back. So the top of the range was 20,000. The bottom of the big picture range is 10,000. So those are big percentage moves, but that's really nothing new in this space, guys. So, when we went through 7,500, we talked about playing defense. So even if you bought the dip, once we broke the 8, you couldn't hold the TMS on the intermediate term. I'll show that in a second on the 4 hour. We broke that, boom. So from here, I think 10,000 will be a pretty good floor. I mean, we had a ton of volume go through the market when we broke through that level. That was the day that Coinbase had 8 times the amount of traffic. All the websites were down. So this is going to be a logical place, guys. And even if the market goes through 10,000, it can easily come right back up and run all the stops. So that's just how markets trade. They like to go where the most pain is. So we want to see how we close out the day. The daily closes matter and the weekly closes matter. But this is our buy zone now between 10,000 and 12,000. We want to start picking up pieces that we sold into 20,000. So rebuying now. If we look at like a weekly cycle, we're still pretty high. The weekly cycle is turning over again. So maybe we are, that could easily come back down. That could also kind of stay up high here. But part of the reason why we want to take profit into 20,000 is just look at this distance above the 8 here on the weekly. So now we've come all the way back to the 8. That's a much better place to be getting back in. We get away from the 8, we want to take profits as you come back towards it. All right, that's the better location to buy. We just talked about the daily. You can notice here the daily cycle. This is starting from a pretty high spot. You'll notice that most of these daily cycle dips, we don't go all the way back to the bottom of the range. So like if I'm trading Forex, this cycle is only halfway done. But like I just said, Bitcoin, you did have a pretty low cycle here back in September, but this one only got halfway. This one was barely even got halfway. This one got halfway. This one you get all the way back down. So we'll see, but that's still still in a down cycle, and we haven't had the 5 and 3 cross yet, %D and %K. And then we look at the 4 hour. We actually price just held pi exactly. So this is just classic in the model. We have the uptrend. So my traders know, any of you guys that have taken the training, look, here we held pi, and then this started a new pi cycle. Higher lows at or near the bands. Higher lows right here. We tried to make a higher low and you failed. So we bought into this dip, and then when it couldn't hold, you go to the sideline. So you give a little bit of money back here. I mean, we've been buying, and guys, we've been trading long here since 2,500. So we've been riding this core, just adding and reducing, adding and reducing. So when you buy and then you play defense and you sell here on the break, yeah, you're going to give some money back. But the key is that you miss you don't want to sit through this entire drawdown. This is it's basically a 50% drawdown. So from here to here, maybe that's 5%, 10%, but this amount of drawdown here is kind of what you want to move to the sidelines. So when we break the trend, when you break trend, the model says you get the deeper pullback to the 200 and or all the way back to pi, and boom, that's exactly what we got this morning. So when you play defense here, I sold my Bitcoin here, 80% of what I was long, and guess what? Now you can come back into the market down here. That's how you manage your risk, guys. This idea of just holding and just turning off the screens and walking away when it going against you, that's not how you manage your risk. So these guys that just want to do the HODL and then just stick their head in the sand when it has these big drawdowns, that's not the way you're going to preserve your capital. So plus, if you're long here and you don't take any profits here, now you're all the way back to here. You basically sat for this entire amount of time, all of December, and you're right back at the same levels we were. So you're just wasting your time too if you're not trading it. Anyway, guys, I like it. I like this location here. Okay, so start kind of getting back into putting some capital back to work, especially if you took profits well up here. I'll say for the near term, we can look at that real quick. All right, so here you'll see how this pie started to kind of roll over. The 30-minute and the 15-minute is a great chart for day trading. Now, obviously, we're not day trading this stuff on the short side yet. I'm going to start doing some hedging around futures. But once you started to roll through the 200, you can see how the bands all flipped and went negative here. So like the way we trade the near term, like if we're trading a market you can actually short, a cash market like the euro versus the dollar. But here the bands are clearly rising. Okay. And then right here, the bands actually flip and go negative. And they're actually kind of laying on top of each other right here, which is indicative of a range trade. But you can also see prices in the northern hemisphere. It's above the 200. And there's a little bit of a trend line there. And then once we broke right here, you get below the 200. You're below all the bands that are now descending. And this has been the near-term downtrend that you've been in ever since. So if you were just strictly day trading, you'd want to be shorting this market the last week. Short the rallies, cover into the lows. Shorting up here, covering the lows. Shorting up here, covering the low. So that's a way you can play the futures, guys, against your longer term positions, is to play this near term trend like that. But if you're just playing the near term trend, if you were trying to buy these dips, you're actually buying lower lows. You're fighting the trend. It just is what it is. Let's look at the 15 minute. So you can see in the 15-minute, that's the same location. Let's see this a little better. So look at the pie line, this dotted green line. See how that all rolled over? So price went into the northern hemisphere, went from the northern hemisphere, as I call it, to the southern hemisphere right here. Price was above pi. That's indicative of a bull market. So again, this is the near term. And then right here is trouble, and this has been bearish. So what's going to change the near term momentum now is you got to start making higher highs. So here's lower lows. Here the market was trying to build a base, and what all you happened was, see what it's so important, guys, when you don't make higher highs, that you can do this and then break to a new low. The key is to find the higher highs. That tells you that the trend has changed. And we don't have any higher highs here yet. So this was a lower low relative to here, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. So the first sign that this near-term trend is going to turn back up is we stop making lower lows. Okay, maybe we're doing that right now. Just like right here, you don't know. Like, you don't know if that's going to be a double bottom, right? And then you're going to go to new highs. Right here, you didn't get back to a new low. Right here, you didn't get back to a new low. But here, this was a new lower low. So what you want to look for on the up is a new higher high. So this is the pivot right now that matters. This lower high here is defining this near-term trend. If price can get above there, then you'll have a new uptrend. Price can get above here and then start doing this, higher highs and higher lows. Right now, that's not what you have. You're still making lower highs. Right, so that's to turn it. Obviously, the near-term trend will turn first before like the 4-hour will turn. So anyway, guys, hope that helps. Let's keep an eye on 10,000. It's major, major, major spot, but probably most likely most of this pullback is done. I mean, Bitcoin goes to 20,000, pulls back to 10. Ethereum, was almost 900, basically back to 500. Litecoin 400 back to below 200. So all the majors kind of went through these 50% pullbacks. So it's probably, most of this slide is probably over now. But 10,000 is big. You can use that as your, I'm happy buying from a 10,000, and if we break 10,000, then there's nothing wrong with just going to cash again and sitting on the sidelines and waiting. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. Hope that helps.